Yeah, there was just a lag for some reason.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast. Today, I feel the need on the fly to sort of rename our show. Actually, no, the show name is great. It's on Keeping Your Readers Forever, but I'm going to try and avoid introducing our guest as a survey expert, even though that's technically right.
Actually, he rebels against the word survey.
Because it's the least sexy idea, the idea of a survey.
Says.
And he had to reprogram us, into like, this is actually an awesome thing. So I will mention at the beginning, a rare at the debut introduction of our guest, Matt Champagne. Hey, Matt.
Hey guys, great to be here. Thanks.
So this will be a fun show because we spent a couple of days with Matt, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago?
It was very recently, yeah.
And so as Sean already said, well, it's cool. Matt can join us at the beginning. We already have rapport. We already have in-jokes and everything.
Now, is Matt's method of keeping readers different than mine? Basically stalking them all, throwing them in your basement and locking them up?
It's a little different.
That works.
Okay.
For some people, that works.
Yours is more efficient, Dave, but it's not as scalable.
True. Yeah, there's a capacity, and like after you get 20 people, the fire marshal comes and
they're already gasping for air, right?
Yes.
What's the maximum capacity on this dungeon, and do you have a clearly marked fire exit?
Matt can survey thousands of people at a time, and he doesn't use a drop of gas,
like a
right?
superhero.
No chloroform. Yeah, I like Matt's way a little better.
show
Well,
off.
I'm a psychologist. Rule number one of psychology: people are different. So
I've heard that.
that works.
There is the Dave way, right?
All right. So before we delve right into the topic of keeping your readers forever, let's hit some preliminaries in the beginning of our show. So one thing I want to do before we even get into like our something cools and stuff is just to issue a formal last call for the Smarter Artist Summit. Where this is kind of, do we have a fine like a date for the last call, like by this day?
No, but if is this, I don't know if this is going live on Wednesday, but if it's not going live on Wednesday, it might not be there on Wednesday. I know there's a few tickets and there will be an email, so it might be too late.
Okay, so soon. That is the answer. Soon. You need to formally, actually, Christina's now saying what's today's date? Friday the 17th will be the last day that you can register for the Smarter Artist Summit. So there's the official word from somebody who would know. Friday, March 17th, 2017 is the last day to register for the 2017 Smarter Artist Summit. So if you want to get in, do it now. Details are at smarterartistsummit.com. And see us and our guests and many surprise appearances. Is Matt going to the summit? He's not going to be there, right?
No, I don't think so. He's welcome to, but he'll be here just a couple weeks before that.
Yeah. So no, not this time. We'll get him there at some point, maybe. All right. So something cool. Did I give the URL smarterartistsummit.com by the 17th? Okay, so that's that. And so who wants to go with something cool?
Okay, today, oh no, I can't say that. Damn it.
I love it when the something cool is something you can't say.
Something secret.
Man.
Something
Yes, I
cool.
just realized that I would be blowing something, and damn it.
He will only do that for $2 million.
Wow, zing. Pulling from the archives today. All right, so I need you guys to circle around. I'm all discombobulated now.
All right, well, I will
have something very cool.
All right, well then I will go. It is keystroke.medium.com has covers for a cure, and I failed to open this ahead of time so that I could speak intelligently about it because I'm all discombobulated today. But if I probably shouldn't have gone first, but it.
I like it this way.
Right, with me just having no idea. Basically, they're doing.
They're curing stupidity.
Yes.
Really?
Well,
I didn't know that could be cured.
It's basically a sale on book covers to help Parkinson's disease. And the event is on April 8th of 2017 at 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time. And I wish I had better details here as far as it's a charity auction. and on book. So I lost an hour today. What can I say?
Is this the new prepared version of SPP that we started?
I thought we were going at 2. I lost an hour.
To be fair, Johnny did expect us 45 minutes from now.
Right. So, but yes, that's look it up and solve my incompetence by going. It's at keystroke.medium.com/cover-a-cure.html. I don't have a short link on that one. So you will be registering and you will be helping to cure Parkinson's disease and also get a fabulous cover for your book. So that is kind of cool.
Okay, my something cool is once again television. The Americans.
Just itself, just by itself.
Television. I love television.
Do you need more than that?
No, that show The Americans is back, and I've loved every season of the show, and it just gets better and better, and it's in its 5th season. And I think now more than ever, the whole idea of Russian spies living among us is something that a lot more people might be interested in, and they might want to catch up on the show. I think you could do it on Amazon Prime.
It's on Prime, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely worth it. It just started its 5th season, and I love it. It's a show that's unafraid to take its time to tell a story, and like it delivers on like stuff that's introduced in season 1, season 2. They will come back and deliver on it. It really respects the viewer in a way that a lot of TV doesn't, and I'm glad that it's got an audience and that people like it. So check it out, and if you haven't watched the prior seasons, binge the hell out of them.
Would you consider that a documentary for like your perspective? Is this basically just kind of letting you know how things really are?
No. It's interesting because you're basically it's about a Russian spy, a husband and a wife that have 2 kids, and they're living as Americans in the United States. But the show is basically gotten you to kind of root for them. You want them to get away with, even though they're the bad guys. And it's probably some communist plot, though, just to take all over.
They're trying to weaken us at the knees, dude. That's what that's all about.
Only if you buy hummus.
All right, I do have something cool, and it actually is very, very cool. And it's not just because it was sitting right here on my desk in easy eyesight. This is actually legitimately very cool. It's this book I just got called Business Model Generation. I'm holding it up for anyone on YouTube, but it's really beautiful. I had heard how awesome this book was, and so I ordered it on Amazon. It was one of those where the print was $20 and the Kindle was $20, and I was like, fuck you, Kindle. And then I ordered the print, and I'm really glad I did. It's beautifully laid out, like the typography is gorgeous, and it just basically goes through all like the basic different business models there are, and how they intersect, and how storytelling works with all of them. And for some of the things that Sterling and Stone is moving into, it's just really fascinating, and it's kind of been my favorite read lately. So that's it. Matt, do you have something cool?
Something cool this week. Well, I don't know if this is cool to all, but I just finished my potato mash is just finished circulating, and I'm gonna dump it in the still after we're done talking here, and brew up a little home bourbon.
Oh, that is cool.
That is cool.
Nothing to do with TV or books, but
do you want to discuss how it was cool to see me order a Christmas tree full of wine the other day?
that was cool.
Is that like moonshine?
But I live in Georgia, so it's called, drink.
everyday water. It's called water.
Do you drink it from a jug?
With X's on.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
Well, my band comes over every week to rehearse, and it starts to get expensive, feeding drinks to everybody. So you got to, cut corners.
That's what a bathtub's for, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So Matt is, he's an exciting guest. Matt and I are in a mastermind together, and the moment I heard him talk, I was just so in love. He's got great words. And
did he have you at hello?
He had me at hello. No,
okay.
No, he had me at why.
The why. Yeah.
Yes. Matt is really, really big on why. And, know your why? Know your why. Yeah, he's going to tell you. I mean, I have this, like, I actually pasted it here so I could read it. For 2 decades, Dr. Champagne, but it's
Ooh,
no,
Dr. Champagne sounds like a supervillain.
No, it totally does. Mass Champagne sounds like a
supervillain / stripper.
Right. I've never seen anyone get so fired up about surveys and how everybody's doing it wrong. And his stories are great, and that's all a lot of fun. So, I mean, basically that's how we met. And Matt was just really, there wasn't an industry that he couldn't attack. And it was in the most wonderfully articulate ways. And I think that it's very human. We all feel these things. We've all had our time wasted on surveys, and it's all done the wrong thing. Just this last weekend, I was coming home from a trip, and I was on the runway for like 4 hours, and the plane had been delayed for a couple hours before that. And I forwarded the email that Delta sent me to, or some company. May not have been Delta. It may have been any one of the other airlines. But one of the airlines sent me.
That sounds like Delta.
Right. Allegedly. But one of these airlines sent me the email, and then I forwarded it to Matt. And I'm like, this is exactly the fuckery we're always talking about. Because it was like, dear, and it's just my email address. And it's like, sorry for the delay. Fill out the survey. Like, it was the most punk ass thing ever. And so it is the kind of thing, like, can you imagine treating our readers like that? Well, maybe some of us are without even realizing it. And it's that kind of thing that we want to have the relationship where we know what questions to ask, we know why to ask them, because then we can keep our readers forever. Because it's not just enough to get somebody to download our book. They need to read our book, then they need to like our book, and then they need to like us. And the more we know about them, the easier it is for them to like us. That goes for every business, and it's true for us, even though we're creating entertainment. So anyway, a very, very welcome, Matt. Love to have you here.
Thank you. That was a great intro.
All right, so I actually have a place that I want to start with this. I want you to tell everybody the story about, Betty Jean. Dave, you can sing Billie Jean if you want.
Betty Jean. Gosh, okay, so.
You're muted, Johnny.
Yes.
You didn't want to sing? Betty Jean.
Yeah, tell us about Betty Jean.
Betty Jean. Yeah, so the story goes that my first job was as a professor of psychology at a university in New York, and I've always been interested in feedback. That was my area of expertise at the university. The feedback that goes on, a big part of that are students giving feedback to their instructors. You took the course, and then they ask, well, how was the course? How was your instructor? And I watched this go on. I thought, how useless is this process? The course is over. Now you ask the students what they thought of the course. They don't care. They scribble a bunch of stuff, circle all fours, and leave. And the faculty aren't going to care because they don't get the results of this for 3 months. They're already into the next term teaching. So there's nothing the students can say that can help them for the next term. The administrators don't care because they'll review it at the end of the year. The only people that this hurt was the administrative assistants. And they would have to collate and staple and get all these forms to the students so that they could scribble an answer on them. Then they would bring them in. And this is what Betty and Jean, that was our secretaries, Betty and but they were always together. They never left.
In case you thought Betty Jean was one person, that was a twist ending right there.
Well, he is in Georgia.
Yeah, I call them both Betty Jean. So Betty Jean and Betty Jean would be there 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, feeding forms through the Scantron machine, circling in the little bubbles that the students didn't quite fill in. They would have to retype all the students' handwritten comments because you don't want the students to be identified by their instructor. So they would retype all these. Night after night, they're doing this. And, they have families that they could be doing anything. But
this, by the way, sums up education perfectly. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was so frustrating because you look like nobody is benefiting from this. The students have already left. The instructor won't get this till it's too late, and the administrators don't read it. And here's Betty Jean, night after night for 2 weeks, feeding forms into a machine. I said, how about we use this new thing called the World Wide Web? It was 1996 at the time. How about we do this on a computer and we write some HTML code, and we'll have the students fill it out on their computer, and then we can have these reports generated. And it was such a crazy idea that I got funding for it, and I started a lab, and that was the beginning of the career of developing tools that would help people gather feedback when it matters, in a way that it matters, to be able to help people. Because we always wait to the end, right? Sean just said he got off that flight 2 days later, he gets a survey. That's what happens. When do you get the survey? After the event is over, after the webinar is over, after your conference is over, after your vacation is over, after the course is over, out comes the survey. We call that the autopsy approach. You wait till the event is over and figure out what went wrong. It helps nobody. And this is a major problem in universities, colleges, training programs, and in almost every aspect. They wait till it's over and then ask us, hey, what went wrong? Hey, would you recommend us? Even in Sean's case, they gave him a crappy time, kept him on the runway for 5 hours, then sent him a survey 2 days later. And on top of it, then they ask him for something. In fact, they spell your name wrong. Dear valued customer. Then they ask you to fill out their survey. Like, you owe them. You are
and I love it too. You know, and we've talked a lot about this, Matt, but you know, the whole idea that a company will send you a survey and they'll offer you like a $5 gift card, right? And please fill out the survey for a $5 gift card. And like 99.9% of people ignore that shit because like, whatever, our time is worth more than filling it out for a $5 gift card.
Except for Robin. We'll fill out anything for $5.
So then that company is taking that, you know, 0.1% of a data of their lowest. I mean, that's not representative of anything. And then they're acting on those survey results.
Yeah, people that have that much free time, their opinion's really not valid.
Well, it's not representative of their market is the thing. So
I like when you go to a website and like 5 seconds after you're there, it's asking you how you like the website. You haven't even had a chance to get past the folder.
Yeah. I like everything but this question.
Owe them an answer. You know?
Right, and there's just no, I guess, respect there. So would you say that's the number one mistake people make when they're handing out surveys, or what is the number one mistake?
Oh gosh. Well, I wrote a book that has 25 lessons. So there was my 25 mistakes, the 25 most common mistakes with surveys. And we already nailed a couple of them, which is, you know, just that kind of respect. You know, I had a buddy that bought a $40,000 vehicle. He gets a survey. Dear person that just bought a vehicle, you know, question one.
That's so fuzzy.
Question one on the survey. What's your first name?
Oh my God.
Question two. What's your last name? I just bought a vehicle from you. Question three. What's your email address that we just mailed you the survey to? Delete. And
what vehicle did you buy?
It's just, you know, so, you know, I always talk about keeping your customers forever, but these companies just do everything they can to drive you away through their own feedback process, insulting you, stealing your most valuable possession, your time, for nothing. And nothing's going to happen with those results. You filled out that survey for Delta. Where's that going to go? Somebody's drawer?
No, nowhere. Yeah.
Nowhere.
It's because they know they have to survey their customers. Like the marketing department says we have to survey our customers, and there's no thought as to how it's done. Now, what are the sorry, Dave, go ahead.
That was actually me. I was just going to say that I've been on the survey taker side of this. I mean, I'm sure we all have, but with a vengeance. Like I know that there have been, I can't think of an example where people have tried to survey me on the way out, and I'd be like, "Oh, motherfucker, I got lots to say to you. Like I'm gonna get my vengeance." Like that bank that pissed me off, and I left them, and I took all my accounts away.
They don't even give a shit about that.
That's the thing. Like I'm like now I'm gonna show you, and I fill out with vitriol, and I just know it's going nowhere. I know.
Yeah, it doesn't. You know, I mean, we all know this story too. A couple of years ago, Amazon reached out and asked, you know, for the survey. I'm sure anybody with a KDP dashboard got this survey. But, you know, I really took the time because we had published a lot of content by then. We had a whole audience. I felt like I had a lot to offer, insight. I spent a long time filling that out. I was really...
Sean had the opinion, like once they got his survey.
Yes, I did.
I would run it up to the Jeff shelf.
I not exactly, but kind of. Like I put a lot of work into it, and I hadn't met Matt yet. If I had, I'd have been like, "Fuck this survey." But I filled it out, and I left my phone number. I said, anybody who wants to call me, I have, and if they actually cared about the survey, I am a prime candidate to pick up the phone and call if they actually cared. But they're not. They're just data collecting.
They're probably passing it around laughing. This guy left his number. Like, we actually want to talk to him.
You know what? You're probably right. But okay, so Matt, what are mistakes that, not like big faceless corporations, but us as authors communicating with our readers? What are some of the things that that we want to avoid when we're engaging and we're asking them? Do we want to give them full surveys, or is it better to do like one question at a time and do like, there's this thing called the sideways sales letter, right? So instead of a big, long sales letter, you do a series of much smaller consumable pieces of content. Each one pushes into the next. Then when you're done, you have a sales letter. So could you do something like that? That's a sideways survey?
Yeah, that's, I like how you phrase it. I have a bunch of themes that I use. One of the themes is surveys are a conversation. And you always got to keep that in mind. It's a conversation that you're having. And companies make the mistake. All of us make the mistake. We want to ask everything. It's like, well, this might be the only chance we get to talk to our people. So you pile on a bunch of questions, but it's not. It should be a conversation. Ask that one question, kind of like the sideways sales letter, and it's a conversation. So I say, oh, well, what's the, what troubled you on this particular thing? Or what's the one question you haven't had a chance to ask? They respond. And then you close the loop. You come back to them and say, oh, that's really interesting what you said. Nobody else has said that. Or, yeah, that's a common thing. Or, we'll try to implement that idea. Then they're like, oh, wow, somebody actually heard what I said and they acknowledged it and they've closed the loop. So now I know that I'm helping to make a difference. That makes the second ask so much easier. Now you just step right in there. Well, I have another question. What do you think about this thing? They give you an answer. You come right back, closing the loop. Tell them, oh, this is what you said. Everybody else said this. So we're not going to do this, but it's what, because most people.
You're an idiot.
I'll let you know I heard what you said. Yeah. And it builds on itself and it becomes this conversation. It should be a two-sided part, but that's not how we do it. It's like, this is the time to fill out the survey. Now is the time of the filling out of the survey. And if you don't do it now, tough. Or if you don't respond to it, well, who cares?
No, I'd actually never thought of a sideways survey before until just saying it, which is kind of funny with all the conversations we've had about surveys. That would never come up. But it seems like a really elegant solution for authors because you're not asking them, like, take a survey sucks, right? We know people intimately who flat out said they will never take a survey no matter what, under any circumstances. So
what sorts of things would writers even want to survey their audience about? What are some common things?
Yeah, I mean, it might be something, whatever you ask, I like it to be something that helps you as the writer, but also would be interesting to your audience. And in fact, it can be slanted more towards interest to your audience. So you come up with that first question. It might be some challenge you're having in the story. It might be something, an idea that you have for your next, next book, for your next launch. So the information is going to help you, but then you tell that person, hey, when you respond to this survey, I'm going to let you know what everybody else said. I'll tell you the top 10 craziest things I heard readers say. I'm going to tell you the top 5 most interesting things that I heard. You can't get this information anywhere else unless you fill out the survey. And then you follow through. And, you might only get a few folks to fill it out the first time, but this snowballs. And one of the little ninja tricks here is you give the results to everybody. So the first time around, you might say, I've got a question for everybody. Here it is. And maybe 5 or 6%, 10% fill it out. That's fine, because now you go right back to them and say, here are the 10 wildest things that I heard you say, the best ideas, and you send it to everybody, even those that didn't respond. The people that didn't respond now are going, oh, wait a minute. That's not what I think. I didn't fill out the survey. Well, that's okay, because the second survey, here it comes. It's the next week. Hey, I'm going to have a follow-up question. And it kind of snowballs till you get more and more folks. So those questions, Dave, can be really unique, something that your audience would get some value out of knowing what everybody else in the community thought.
So I think this is something that's I think it's easy to do for nonfiction. I can think of a lot of applicable scenarios there. For fiction, I think that's something that we'll have to kind of brainstorm.
No, it's not, dude. It's easy. Like, what did you think? I mean, it's simple things. You're taking your audience's pulse. So you could use it to find out what kind of entertainment they like, because that shapes the kind of entertainment that you create for them.
Okay.
Or even feedback on your writing, like a brave, right. Beth says, does Mauricio wear boxers or briefs? Yeah, like that's trivial. That doesn't really help us with our business or storycraft, but it does tell us about maybe the sense of humor of our audience, because they're data points. They're communicating with us, and we get to know them better. That's what Matt said.
Yeah, you were saying something about being brave. So where were you going with that? Like asking your audience like what they don't like about your stuff?
Yes. Like if you were to send and this actually leads into a great point that I want to talk about with Matt is, it's an opportunity. If you were to send, like if Johnny and I sent an email to the Realm and Sands list and said, what's the one thing you don't like about our books? Right. And like, of course we're going to get criticism there.
Wedding scenes.
But that could be the thing that helps us grow as writers. So Matt, what is it that you claim people don't actually want feedback, right? So why don't people want feedback in general?
Yeah, I mean, just the way it's structured, it's structured wrong. If you're having a conversation with somebody, you have many chances to ask them. They have a chance to interact. It's so much more comfortable and easy. But when you put the high pressure situation, a lot of these groups is like, here's the national annual survey, or here's the survey that's triggered to some event, like your visit to the bank or a visit to the restaurant. It just puts so much pressure because they're putting like, this is the time to do it. This is the only time to do it. And then they put all these repercussions around. There's all these consequences. Even when I taught at the university, what the students said about you, that came right back in your face at the end of the year. Because at the end of the year, nobody gets a raise. One person will get a raise and one person, will get, I don't know, money taken away. I mean, there's almost no money to be had. So there's just like these little gradients. So they look at your evaluations and say, oh, I see a student in your spring course said you didn't show up for class one day. And then now you have to defend yourself. Yeah, I was there. And it goes with the bank tellers who have to defend themselves. So it goes into something it shouldn't be. A survey is not supposed to be like a way of hurting people or finding who the winners and losers are. It's supposed to be feedback. It's supposed to be a conversation, a back and forth. And when you put it in that context, it just takes all the pressure off. And
I mean, really, it's an opportunity to know your customer better, or your reader in this instance, right? Because the better you know them, the better your relationship can be, and the more finely tuned, I guess. It's not that it's a better relationship, it's that it's more finely tuned. So you're going to respond to them better, right? So if you've been married for a long time and you have a good marriage, you can anticipate your partner's needs. Except for Dave.
I'm going to send my wife a survey.
Right. I think he should.
Yeah, actually, hey.
I kind of want all of us to survey Dave's wife.
I kind of want to work with Matt to fashion a marriage survey, like the how to win your marriage.
And they both have to take it. And then we compare their results. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, that's absolutely going to happen. Are you ready for that, Matt?
That's kind of the pressure situation I'm talking about. We want to avoid that.
So, okay, let's talk about the principles. Now, I know you're very fond of 9 principles of feedback, but that might be too many unless we can go through them quickly. But do you want to talk about the most important one, or maybe the principles that are most relevant to like a reader-author relationship?
Yeah, I think we touched a little bit on timing. So principle 3 is about timing and frequency, like how often and when to do it, not to use the autopsy approach. So
and if you never email your list, then don't warm them up with a survey. Right? Like, okay, I haven't been here for a while, but I'm going to fix that. Tell me answer these 50 questions. That would be a bad idea, right?
Yeah. And so you want, and I guess I'm trying to think of another, closing the loop is, we mentioned that as principle 5, making sure that you give them something, in this exchange. And that's what people want to hear. And, they want to know their voice was heard, that what they said made a difference, how they compare to others. And one that's hardly ever mentioned is they want to see you succeed. And you want to succeed as a writer, and you want to keep all your people, you want to keep all your readers forever. And coincidentally, they want to stay with you. And this is what companies forget all the time. It's like, we all have that experience. There's some, restaurant that we used to go to, but now they changed management and the new wait staff isn't on the ball, and they took some of the items off the menu. And
that happens to Dave everywhere he goes.
And
their French fries.
Yeah. And you walk away and you're like, oh, man. Or some hotel that used to be your favorite, or some cruise line. And it's like, oh, if they only would have listened to me, all I wanted was to help them. If they would have read my feedback, I could have made a better restaurant. They could have been a better provider, but they didn't read it. And I'm trying to help them and they won't let me help them. And they walk away. And companies don't notice. They don't know you left. But in our niche here, when we got small communities, you can't play that kind of game. You got to play the keep your readers forever game, which means, contacting each and every one of them and letting them know that their voice was heard. They want to help you succeed. And that's what the key to the survey conversation is they're giving you some feedback. You might not like it. It might hurt sometimes, but you can come back to them and say, okay, well, I heard what you had to say. Most people thought another way. I'm just telling you, this is the way I'm doing things, because the majority of the folks want to go this way. So I just want to let you know. And I have found time and time again in the empirical data, when you tell a student, look, I heard what you said and I ain't doing it. And this is why I don't do things that way. They still love those instructors. It's just the notion that they were heard and that their voice was heard. They didn't even have to act on it. They just had to recognize the importance, the time that they committed to spending to try to help you. That's what they're looking for.
Well, that's exactly it. I think that any business or any author that makes it about the customer or the reader, it's just a different exchange. You're giving them something instead of taking. The airline who sent me that email was taking from me. They'd already taken from me and now they wanted something more. They weren't offering me anything and they weren't really saying they were sorry. Their sorry was so not genuine. And so
they should have emailed that survey to you while you were sitting there playing for 4 hours.
It's so insulting. It's just really, really insulting. And that's the thing. You can't see it because my desk, I guess, is too high, but I wore this shirt for you today, Matt. It says, don't be an asshole. And that's exactly it, because out of all the conversations we've ever had, really that's what it's reduced to. Companies don't do that. Don't be an asshole. And if you're emailing your readers and you're asking them questions that are helping you, that means they're helping your business. It is a business exchange, and you owe a lot of courtesy. You owe things like timing. I wasn't kidding earlier. I said that about warming up your list with a survey because I could see a lot of people doing that. It's been done to me a bunch of times. Hey, I haven't emailed in a long time. Here's some questions. That's about you. That's not about the reader or the customer. That's about you. And so you don't deserve to have a volley there. Okay, so this is kind of a novel experiment. We are not necessarily prepared for this, but I kind of like the idea of brainstorming a little bit, what a reader survey would look like as authors to send to our reader. And
right, and not just the question, but the form of it.
Right, because I think this is something that pretty much everyone listening to this would be interested in, but I think probably a lot of people can't really get their head around it. And even Dave was asking, well, because you don't want to annoy people, and especially if Dave is your spirit animal, then the thought of sending an email and asking a question like that, or here's a bunch of questions like Dave, you hate that idea, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I filled out that I've actually gotten a few Amazon author surveys, and I have filled them out because I thought I was helping, but then they ignored it. So, I don't know that they ignored it. Maybe my advice was just so rare, among all the other general, easy to implement advice that they got, that they couldn't have used it. I don't know.
Dave was the one person who suggested keeping the old dashboard.
Make it more difficult. Do you? Well, one question: do you have? is it better to bribe the people taking the survey, like offering them something, or does it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Is it better to have people that naturally are inclined to take a survey without a bribe? Their input might be more meaningful because they care more.
Yeah, I spent a career telling companies no financial incentives. No, that just comes from the data. I used to talk a lot about incentive inflation, because back in the day, to fill out a survey, there was this new company, Amazon, and to get an Amazon gift card, that was like the big incentive. But then out came the MP3 players. It was like, oh, well, who wants the Amazon gift card and get this MP3 player? But then the memory got larger and larger.
It's an arms race.
It's an arms race. And then out came, it was iPads and you just can't keep up with, not only can you keep up with the sorts of incentives in terms of cost, but psychology rule number one, people are different. Some people want the tablet, some want the cat, So I talk about
the cat.
The cash.
Oh, because I never saw cats given away, but that would have been hot.
Cat ladies will be filling those out all the time.
Right, now I can see it.
So you have to either go with individualized incentives, which is an option, but the best we found is giving people results, knowledge of results. It's something they can't get anywhere else. So if you're asking interesting questions about other people that are similar to them, and you're able to go back to them and say, guess what? Here is the results of 200 people and all their ideas, things they found most interesting. Like, that is the incentive that we find that blows away any kind of financial incentive. Plus, financial incentives kind of are counter to the principles that you're doing this to help this business, you want to help them succeed. And once you start tying it to money, then you get into all the problems that we all know about, companies that give away gift cards or, get cash for filling out surveys.
Now,
it's really giving surveys a bad name.
Do you ever have situations where you're doing a survey where the company might not want to share the results? Maybe it's like something to do with a product they're going to launch, and they don't want to, tell everyone what the hell they're doing. How would you then offer something when you kind of are like disguising the real intent of the survey, maybe?
You can give, and I've seen companies give, previous reports. So they might already have the 2017 benchmark study on such and such.
Okay.
And maybe it was even for sale. So maybe there is like some financial something tied to it, but hey, I'll give you that report in exchange for your time, because I know there's stuff in this report that you'll want. So you could give them a proxy for that, as long as it's a recognition of their time, and to say, look, I'm going to give you something that you can't get anywhere else but here. I know, and I even tell people that fill out my surveys, I say, I have nothing to give you that will make up for your time. It's the most precious thing you have. It's irreplaceable. I've got nothing. But if you'll fill this out, I promise I will read your comments. I will put them into place. I will show you how we did or did not use them. I'll show you how you compare to others. And that's the kind of, community and the, symbiotic relationship that works so well.
And again, that comes down to you framing it as a conversation, right? It's just a respect for people's time. How long will this take? Why do you want to do it? What's the purpose? What's the outcome? And that's something that we don't really share, or companies don't share with us. Okay, so let's design a survey that Dave would feel safe sending. I think that's our litmus here.
Actually, can I answer one question? I saw Scott asked in the chat about the length of the survey, that he likes to know how long the survey is going to take before he takes it. And yeah, that's huge. If you look at any, most surveys say, please take 10 minutes of your time to help us improve our products and services. That's the same language. I could pull surveys out of this drawer right now from 1993, because I save surveys, doesn't everybody? And it'll say the same thing. Please take 10 and 15 minutes of your time to help us improve our products and services. It's so insulting. So that's one of the things, is I actually have people go through, and my surveys will say, pilot test shows that it takes 7.21 minutes to fill this out. But even better, if you're doing this as a conversation, it's only 1 or 2 questions. So yeah, yeah.
Right. You don't want the 50 question surveys like those, because if you have a 50 question survey, they're asking too many questions, right? I mean, like, what are you trying to do with 50 questions?
Were you trying to find out my phone carrier?
Yes, that is not respectful of the person's time.
That the world record, at least that I've ever seen, was we'll call it a learning organization. They sent it out to their alumni. It's an alumni survey, 121 questions. Wow. They're like, hey, we only got a 3.5% response rate. I'm like, congratulations.
That's high.
3.5%.
I can't even believe you got 3.5%. Pardon me?
3.5% from alumni. Like, that's, of course, that's shit. Wow. Yeah. Can you tell the story real quick before we move into this live brainstorming about when you were real vigilant for a particular period of time and you filled out like every single survey under the sun? Because that's kind of funny.
Yeah. That was years ago. I just made it a point. I'm going to fill out every survey that comes into my inbox. And I mean, this is years ago, but survey would come in, I'd fill it out. Every survey I wrote the same thing. I'd fill out the survey, and then in the comment box, I would write, thank you for the opportunity to fill out your survey. I have much more to tell you. Here's my phone number and email address. I filled out about, I think it was 78 surveys over the course of half a year. How many of those 78 do you think called or emailed me back? Not one, not ever. And so that's the frustration people have. It's like, you owe me to fill out my survey. I'm giving you help. I'm trying to offer more help, just like you said with Amazon. Crickets. And that's why surveys are such a bad word now, is that marketers destroy everything, right? So they destroyed the survey.
Dave has that t-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, surveys to me as a psychologist is the most powerful tool that we have. It's the only tool we have to get inside your head, to figure out what you need and want and expect and desire. If it's carefully crafted, we can really delve down. It's our best, most powerful tool. Marketers have taken it and just, now it's that annoying thing, and it has been for years. So it's hard to turn that around. So I talk about surveys, but I try not to talk about surveys because of all that baggage.
Yeah,
I feel like survey is just a word that you're immediately going to turn away from, but it's the one everybody knows. So
yeah, we spent a long time trying to figure out an alternative. There really aren't many. Okay, so
especially if you want to be understood.
Yeah,
I do like calling it a conversation.
No, yes, but that doesn't. Once you could. Yes, but you have to start the conversation with survey, because nobody's thinking survey when they hear the word conversation. There's an education break there. You have to teach the market that surveys mean something different than what we've all been trained to think they mean. But Matt's on the right track here. He's planning on conquering the world about this. He has ambitious plans. So I love them all. Okay.
Now, but look at the counter to that, social media. So we're talking surveys have gone down into the toilet. Social media came from nowhere to everywhere. But
but why is that? It's because people want to be heard. Surveys aren't hearing them. You get instant people listening to you if you go on social media. You can pitch on Facebook, you pitch on Twitter, and you instantly have an audience. And in fact, those companies who will ignore your survey, they'll respond to you in social media immediately, because they're hugging their haters. They're doing damage control. They're out there. So it is very frustrating that surveys are like, hey, give us an hour of your time or however long of your time, and we won't ever get back to you. But if you really want to get something addressed, you can't. That's a great point.
And that's what I like for your readers to think about when they're doing a survey, is think about social media. What makes it work? It's because as soon as you write something, your voice is heard. It was heard. People are liking or sharing, commenting. So it just satisfies all the psychological principles. And that's why we can't get enough of it, because it's feeding exactly what we need. Social media does it right. And that's why it's exploded. Surveys take all those principles and turn them on their head and do them wrong. And that's why we don't like those. So if you can take your surveys, have all those same flavors that not put your surveys on social media, but take all of what social media is and psychologically put that into your survey. That's a win.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think right now is as we kind of transition here, I think it's a really good idea to ditch the word survey. Okay, we've already said you're the survey guy. People understand what we're doing here, but really, let's say it's a conversation. We're trying to understand our reader a little bit better and have her understand us a little bit better. So this is a relationship thing. And I actually really like the idea of not sending them a survey, but having like let's say your survey has 6 questions. It's a small one. Send that over 6 emails. Just do 1 per PS or 1 in the bottom, 1 in the body of your email, but make it like real conversational. And we're lucky, we're authors. We're not, Best Buy, like sending out a survey. Like we can be really informal. We can use tools that they can't, like humor. I think surveys and humor, like you want to ask somebody's, you want to waste their time, then make it worthy of their time. Like you can never truly make up for their time because it's more valuable than your survey. It just is. But you can at least make them laugh during it, and not just with humor, but with touchstones. So here's the example I would use. If we were sending a survey to the Smarter Artist and we just wanted to do like 1 question, or I don't know, it could be multiple questions in here, and we had, 4 answers. It was multiple choice. And one of the answers was Dave. And it's a punchline. It's funny. Like everyone reading it would get it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel about your publishing success? 10, 8, 7, Dave, like something like that, right? people would find that funny, of course, and they'd keep reading the survey to see what the next question was because that one made them laugh. So I think humor is a great way to drive people down a survey. Would you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And then those common touchstones, right? Where like we all know Dave. Some of us, he's the avatar. Like they totally feel Dave. That's where they would go on the survey first. That is where they feel most comfortable.
See that movie Avatar?
I want to see that remade with Dave.
James Cameron wanted me, but I
they get into big Dave suits.
Dave-atar. That would be awesome. I mean, really, you could just do that over a series. I think if we're doing this, well, actually, we are doing this. So I think the way that we're going to want to do this is to just come up with all of our questions. And they don't really need to be in order, right, Matt? Like if you have a certain body of information that you want to get, couldn't you just sprinkle those in, like whichever question is most appropriate to that particular email?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm working with a company, we would go through and just do one big dump of information in terms of urgency and importance generally. So you might say, okay, well, what are all the things that you'd like to ask your people? Let's get them all out on the table. Now, let's think about these in terms of like, what would make sense to ask now? What can we wait till later? What's most important? So you could, in one sitting, kind of just structure this all out, and then be able to ask these questions one after another, 1 week after another. That would be the most structured way. But as you said, you could just have the conversation, ask the question, and you might find all sorts of interesting things that steers you off in a different direction. Maybe your second question isn't one you even anticipated asking, but now you've proven to them you've read what they said because your second question could only be given, knowing that you had already read and digested and reflected on what they told you in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's almost like building it into your initial autoresponders is smart. I think that you have to have a pretty good relationship with your reader to send a survey and expect like a long survey and expect a lot of engagement or answers. But 1 question at a time seems like a no-brainer. And not only are you doing like a sideways survey, but you're also spending the time to get to know your reader. Like it's not as intrusive. It's like it becomes more like, instead of give me a report about your day, like when you're like a 3rd degree, it's more like, hey, how was your day? It's a simple question. It's a simple trigger and response.
How much work is that to maintain, though? I mean, if you're responding to everybody's response.
Yeah, that's a great question. And how we set this up is, it depends on what tool you're using. My current favorite, I guess I can't say survey, right? My current tool is Typeform, which I prefer over SurveyMonkey or Survey Star, Survey Gizmo, all those. But none of them have a way of, easily, sending that report back. So a lot of times I just put it onto a web page. They'll fill out the survey, the 1 or 2 questions. They get to the confirmation page. It says, okay, click here for the results. And if they're kind of later in the line, I've already put some stuff on the web page. Say, okay, here's just a running total of what I found interesting so far. Or you could just say, check this, check back in a couple of days. So with one online company, they would ask a question on Tuesday, and then on Friday, they would get an email that says, here's what everybody said. It would just be in a email, the top 10 things that you should know, that we learned in the survey. And then it would say, okay, stay tuned. Tuesday, we'll have another question for you. And then people just kind of got in this rhythm that it was, question Tuesday, and then a big, interesting, nugget of information they get on Friday.
Do you use Facebook with your surveys at all, or do you strictly work with people that already have like a email list or some other customer interaction?
Oh gosh, I mean, the concern is with the representativeness. So this is kind of like the just ask method. I'll just put this out on Facebook, and it's dangerous to me because it's not, you don't know, did you reach 1% of your people or 50? You have no idea. It's just some people have responded.
Yeah.
So if you take action, then it's like, well, I don't know if that was the right action or not that you took. You can give them some feedback and say, well, here's what everybody said. But if you're going to try to make some meaningful change, it's difficult unless you have that list.
It's not representative of your actual target.
Here's what everyone motivated to respond on the medium of Facebook said.
Yeah. And Dave, to answer your earlier point, the way I would handle that, like answering every single one, I would send them someplace, start the conversation on a Facebook page or a blog page or something, so you can send that traffic to one place and the conversation doesn't happen one-on-one, but it happens as a community, because that brings your readers together and it scales your time. And so you want to create like a little home base somewhere, wherever that is, even if it's just tweet me your answer, like with hashtag whatever.
Matt, we're a little late in the podcast, and I threaten going down the rabbit hole, but I'm just wondering what you do about survey bias, about the whole idea that you may not be reaching, you can't get an answer out of people who won't respond, and hence it's going to be biased toward people who will respond, and the quiet people you may not hear from.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing, because we, and they say, well, we act on what we had, this is the data we collected, and, if you didn't say anything, well, I guess, we won't be able to hear from you. But I've done some studies with that of showing people, it was actually kind of a weird study, was what do people say that didn't respond? Like, what would those people have said if they didn't respond? And we actually followed up with people that didn't respond to a survey and say, hey, you didn't respond to that survey. We're just interested in what you would have said if you would have responded to the survey. And then they actually told us, and it was really interesting, seeing the contrast between that. So if it's just to gather feedback to engage your people, then I don't see a problem with it. If you get some unknown percent of people to fill this out, and then you go back to them and say, well, here's what I heard. These are the top 10 things, or the 5 most commonly mentioned issues by this group, then you're kind of building that steam, to get them to respond further, because that's what you want. You want to kind of build this momentum so that they know that they're helping you, you're using it, and you're providing something for them. So that's a great use of it. The tough side is implementing this, because you don't really know, well, is that really where everybody wanted to go? I don't really have a representative sample. So if you're going to take action and make changes and things, you really got to get a grip on the response rate. You really got to do some of those tricks to boost your response rate.
Like, what if you take an action that pisses off the demographic that coincidentally isn't primed to respond? Like, yeah, I guess you have to ask that question.
Well, but then it's your job to engage the right people. But that's the problem with surveys. They're not engaging anyone. So they're inviting responses from the wrong people often. oftentimes.
Should I kill the children of all the people who don't respond to my comments?
So yeah, I know we could go on, and we're kind of at the end here. But yeah, we will be doing the stuff with Matt. We're figuring stuff out right now. We don't really have anything right now, but if you want to be alerted when we do have something with Matt, that's just sterlingandstone.net/champagne.
And that would be when we say doing something with Matt, we talk about the idea of keeping, how to survey your people, not to use the buzzword, and keep them longer, like keep your readers around, that sort of thing.
Yeah, keep your readers forever. Like that's our
in
goal.
the form of software, I suppose. It would be worth clarification.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but our actual funnels, the way we're building them out, and we'll be inserting the surveys both into the Smarter Artist emails and our fiction emails. And as we learn more, we'll be able to share more.
Yeah, and that's my point, is that everybody here wants to help their readers. They know what's good for them. The problem is they start to copy what others do to gather feedback, and they're using all these bad techniques and irritating their readers because that's the bad habits that others follow. So yeah, if we can steer them towards using what intuitively feels good as far as asking questions, I think the results really be magical.
So where can people find you, Matt?
You can find me at matthewchampagne.com. Soon they will be able to find me at sidewayssurvey.com because I just bought that domain name.
Did you really?
Boom!
Oh, Matt,
I'll redirect that to my page in just a moment here. But
oh, that's awesome. Sidewayssurvey.com.
Yeah, so stop, and I can. I got a bunch of things I could send folks. Just some lessons. I grabbed a PDF that would
we'll put a little package together at some point. So if you want the little package that we put together, go to sterlingandstone.net/champagne, and whenever we have that ready, we'll send it out. But we're doing some cool stuff with Matt, and we'll know more later. Or go to sidewayssurvey.com.
We're gonna make people fill out a survey before they get the package.
No, but we are working with Matt to make sure that when we do survey the Smarter Artist, we're not assholes, and that we're respectful. And we actually just finished out The Apprentice, and we wanted to survey them right, and he helped us make sure that we did that in the best way possible, and it was especially for that feedback stuff. We knew we'd get a lot of praise, but that's not what yes, we wanted that. That's nice, of course. But what we really wanted was the stuff that, here's what didn't work so we can make sure it works next time. Like that's what's really important. And whether you're building a product or you're, writing a book, which is building a product, actually, make sure that your readers and your customers are happy. And sometimes asking them the right questions in the right order, it just makes all the difference.
And I will close by reminding you one more time, everybody, that the last call for the Smarter Artist Summit is happening now. And if you want to join, if you want to go, this is your last chance. Make sure you join. You get your ticket by March 17th, Friday, March 17th, 2017, smarterartistsummit.com. And just thanks again, Matt, for being here. It was good to see you again. And I am looking forward to seeing you in person again, not too terribly long from now.
Yeah, I'll be out there in a couple of weeks. Thanks everyone for all the stuff on chat. That was great. I've been watching that fly by as well.
All right. See you in a couple of weeks, Matt.
All right. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Take care.
All right.